Welcome. I'm so glad you joined me today for our week 16, The Simple Secret to Omitting Stress from Your Life. And I find this one funny. She does a fantastic job about making light of some of the things that are part of our life. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but in the back here I've got a big pile of boxes. And if you knew the layout of my living room, you would know that I'm sitting on a couch that's in the middle of my living room. And on my deck, there's furniture. There's some closets that are full of some things right now. And it can be very stressful. Carpet cleaning. Who would have thought carpet cleaning could be stressful? But the joke is really, we all deal with stress. There's no way to omit it completely. You're human. You're going to have stress. So she gives us some great tips here on what we can do to help alleviate some of that stress. So first of all, it's really smart that we recognize what can cause stress or what is causing us stress. That can help us in determining if there's something that we need to do about those things or if it's just something that we kind of have to live with. So it can make it easier on ourselves when we recognize that what the stress is. And one of the things she mentions is our housekeeping standards too high. I used to have a very diligent schedule of Tuesdays cleaning the windows, and that kind of progressed into, well, I honestly can't tell you the last time I cleaned the outside of my windows, and I can still see through them just fine. There's no buildup of crazy stuff, and so it's not important to me to clean my windows inside and out every Tuesday anymore. Think about your camping standards. Have you ever taken your kids camping? And how, they get dirty and you don't have them change their clothes unless it's like filthy and they're going to bed that night. Our standards camping versus here in the home are completely different. Part of that is when you're camping, you're limited to the clothes you have usually. You only packed 3 or 4 outfits, and at home you have a plethora, a whole closet and dresser full. And we have washing machines here at home, so we can throw those things in the wash and get them cleaned up, and an easy way to bathe the kids and get them washed up. So the standards can change too, not just in your location, but where you are in life is where I'm going with that one. And of course, in our different seasons, some are more demanding of others. When you have 3 kids in 3 sports or 3 different sports teams during the same season, and there's only 2 of you, your husband and yourself, to take care of things, it can make it really challenging getting them to and from practices, games, wanting to attend all of those things and be a part of that, and you still have your other responsibilities on top of that. The funny thing is, she mentions a woman in here. I love the Fly Lady, and when I kind of got in a rut years ago, I found her and just love her. She gave these great tips on a variety of things. But one of the things she stands by is she would say, first thing in the morning, get dressed and put your tennis shoes on. You are less likely to lay back down if your tennis shoes are on. And I'd laugh at that. I'm like, no, I have no problem laying back in my bed with my tennis shoes on. I don't care. I'll fall asleep with them on. But the point being, when you get up, get going, get things done. But there was a quote from Fly Lady: housework done incorrectly still blesses your family. And that's absolutely correct. Any type of housework. When my husband comes home, if there was an area that was plugged up, like congested like that is right there, if that was actually put away, he would notice that. That's huge. And it would be one less stressor for him. And that was always my goal, is once I realized that was a huge stressor for him when the house was cluttered or in disarray, it did not have to be clean top to bottom, just order, some sort of order. It gave him the opportunity to relax after a long day's work. And you know what? That gave me opportunity and the kids opportunity to hang out with him and spend time with him, and that was important. She talks about Benjamin Franklin, and I want to read this because I love this. So I'm going to read directly. In his famous autobiography, Benjamin Franklin details an interesting experiment he conceived to accomplish the bold and arduous project of arriving at moral perfection. I wished to live without committing any fault at any time. As I knew, or thought I knew, what was right and wrong, I did not see why I might not always do the one and avoid the other. So he goes on to say where he lists 13 virtues, and that he felt at that time occurred to him as necessary or desirable. So some of them included in his list were temperance, eat not to dullness, drink not to elevation. Silence was one, speak not but what may benefit others or yourself, avoid trifling conversation. And order, let all of your things have their places, let each part of your business have its time. And then he made a list of the days of the week, and each week he concentrated on one virtue, marking on his chart in the evening those faults he committed. And his hope was, of course, to master a virtue each week, and then he would move on to the next. But he was really experimenting with this after years, and he discovered that this method just doesn't work for him. He found that he had undertaken a task of more difficulty than I had imagined. While my care was employed in guarding against one fault, I was often surprised by another. I concluded at length that the mere speculative conviction that it was our interest to be completely virtuous was not sufficient to prevent our slipping. And she goes on to say, as a mom and homemaker, I too would like to attain the perfection on this job, eradicating my faults simply by keeping a chart. Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? I like my menus always be balanced, my holiday celebrations memorable, my temper long, and my list of undone chores short. But, like Benjamin Franklin, I am sometimes surprised to find myself so much fuller of faults than I had imagined, and I so relate to that. I have these expectations of myself and what I want to see or how I want to see things, and then the reality is not that it's undoable, but usually my timeline is the wrong, and not that I'll ever hit that perfection, because things change too as time goes on. Things change, our expectations change, so we need to let go of those that are unrealistic and work with the ones that are realistic for that time that you have to work on them. And I tell you what, my goals from 20 years ago are different than they are today. Time changes, your motivations change, your heart changes, life changes. I married, I have 3 children, I have a granddaughter. Life is different today than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I couldn't fathom quite what it would be like where we are today. So it's so important that we just kind of try and let go of some of those unrealistic expectations, that we learn to be thankful for those things that we have. Our home. I am so thankful for this home. Yeah, I could complain that it has stairs, or that the molding is outdated, or that I would rather have this or that or whatever. Like, one of the things I've mentioned to my husband a lot lately is that, what I really miss is in our first home, lilac trees grew outside our bedroom window, and I loved that smell of lilacs when they were blooming, and oh, it was just amazing. Our bedroom is on the 2nd floor, and unless we planted a lilac when we first moved in, it's not going to be big enough for me to smell the beautiful lilac smell through my bedroom window. So I am thankful for my home, and realize, you know what, I can put a candle in there, or scent melts, or I'm sure there is even essential oils I could have going on in there, and have that amazing, wonderful smell that I so loved, that I so miss about our first home. And be thankful for our family. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Isn't that powerful? Thankful for your family. And what about our blessings? During the midst of those stressful times when there's so much going on, we chose to move the furniture out because it'd been 15 years since we'd cleaned these carpets. And it is so easy when you're caught up with all of those tasks at hand, or those schedules with the 3 kids in 3 different sports and so on and so forth, that usually the first thing that we give up is our time with God. And she quotes Matthew 11:28 through 30, where it says, Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my load is light." And it's so important. Sometimes when we're in the midst of that craziness, we forget to take that time with God. And I don't know why that's the first thing that most of us forget, but it is. It's the first thing we seem to give up, but I don't understand why, but it is. It's just so important that we don't wait till our emotional tank is empty, that we are at the bottom of the barrel, that we have nothing left to give. We need to remember to go to Him so that that load is shared. Ask for help. Ask God to direct you to those who you should ask for help. All I have to do is let my husband know I'm not feeling well. I'm overwhelmed. And it's amazing how even discussing those tasks, how he might have a different approach on something that will actually make my part of the job easier, even if it's just a change of how I do something. And for example, I'm working on a sewing project, and I'm not going to go into the details of it. It's for my business, my sewing business. I'm working on a project. I chose a pattern that is similar to what I want to accomplish, but it's not what I want. But I did a mock-up of this pattern to kind of understand some constructions that the construction that they went through to get to the end result, and realize what I liked and didn't like about this. Now I put that mock-up together, decided what's going to change about it, and then I start marinating on the process and how I can streamline it. It's not just one I'm making many of those items. So what am I going to do to streamline it to make it easier? And it's one of those processes, and it doesn't make sense for me to start going at it again until I've streamlined that process. And also, I might ask someone else their opinions who might have experience in that. Yes, I am back in my office. I wanted to share one other thing, and I've shared this before about, for me, stress. And one of the things that I do that's very important to me is I have what I call a weekly dump list. And this started out as a master list of all the things that I needed to do, or felt I needed to do, or wanted to do. Some of them were items that were going to be recurring. And so I work 3 months in advance with a lot of things. This helps me put on there things like I have 4 siblings. Generally, there's 4 weeks in a month. So each week I call a different sibling. That's important to me. It's important to me to connect to them. Every other week I drive to see my daughter and granddaughter. And on those other weeks, she comes to see me. And so those are those recurring things. But then there's things that come up that I think, oh, I next week I need to pick up prescriptions, and so I need to stop by Walgreens. Or there's a special project. For me, that has to do with my sewing. These videos make it onto that list as well. And I divide it up into sections that work for me. So I start with that master list, and then I created a weekly dump list from that. And then working 3 months in advance, I know that the first week I speak to, of each of those months, I speak to, or I call one of my siblings, sibling A. The second week I call sibling 2. So it's on there for the next 3 months. And then I don't have to think about it anymore because it's on that list and I know. And then I take that list and I put it in my day planner. And this year I'm using one by Christy Wright, 2021 Goal Planner. And I love this. This is not very portable for me, but since a lot of what I do is here in my office or at home, I leave this open on my desktop and I look at that as to what I need to do, and I do what I can. And if I can't fit it all in on Monday, whatever it was, then there's that one item that is a container item. It can go, if you put container time, and you'll be familiar with that if you do any type of goal setting and scheduling and things like that. They talk about container time, and container time is like that spare time that you put 3 hours on a Wednesday afternoon for anything that you didn't get done Monday or Tuesday and you try and do. So if you do that, then great. I don't work it that way. I don't call it container time. It's I just recognize that when I now have free time, I can pick up that other thing that I didn't finish. So even though it's scheduled for Monday and it's now Wednesday, I can still do that thing that didn't get checked off on Monday. Well, today I was out and about a lot. I'm still, I haven't marked everything off on my list, but I'm working on one of those things right now. But because I was going to be away from my desk for a long time today, I just took an index card and I kind of wrote up some of those things. I guess there's nothing. Yeah, there's one address on there, but that's not to anybody's house. So I'll show you. So I just kind of write out when I need to leave because it takes X amount of time to get somewhere, or what I'm expecting during a certain time period, and then I kind of filled in those other things. Well, this is when I can work on laundry, or when I can move furniture back in the house. Or sewing, or shoveling dirt. We have dirt coming today. So anyway, those are just some little things that help relieve my stress. So I just wanted to add that in there real quick. Lastly, I want to leave you with this great list she mentions on page 90. Next time you're stressed out, do one of these things. Sit quietly with God. Go for a walk. We are in spring. Beautiful time outside. Enjoy that scented lilac candle. You have a little one? Play with Play-Doh, color, read a book, take some extra vitamin C, breathe. Blessings to you. See you next week.